Okay, take two on this. This is first time I totally screwed up the rules in too many ways. This is one of my newer purchases, Candidate. It's an old game. I played it a couple of times way back when it came out in the early 90s. It's a political United States race type game where you have, it's for the primary races, and it holds, what, up to 6 players. It's got a kind of nice little mechanism, and I want to go over that. Unfortunately, my used copy has some nasty stains on it. I guess that's okay. Mainly it's in fine shape. Okay, so obviously the object of the game is to navigate the intricacies of the Electoral College in a primary. After having played 1960, I kind of wanted to do this and see whether or not I could give some additional insight into another one of the games that I've played. This is kind of a middle ground between Road to the White House, which I really don't feel like facing at this point, although I really love the game, and it has its problems, and Landslide, which I haven't even looked at and don't remember how it's played, but I think it's a Monopoly kind of feel to it. So what happens in this? Well, everybody's dealt a hand of 5 cards at the beginning of the game, and there's a number of different kinds of cards. You're allowed, each player takes a quantity, 0 to whatever, money cards, a specific kind of card, and puts them face down in front of them. And that's their bid, sort of, as to how much they're willing to show in order to be the first dealer. I'm not sure how big an advantage that is, but certainly being a dealer if you have the right cards is a great and very powerful advantage. But because you get to choose what states are up for the primary. Anyway, everybody reveals their cards. They put them back in their hand. The one who revealed the most money cards becomes the dealer. And they immediately are allowed to pick a primary. Now the rules suck about this, and this is one of the things I lost. The primaries are listed on these charts. Those are the only legitimate primaries. You pick one of those that hasn't been run yet, you grab the states from it, and the yellow primaries are 1-state primaries, the green primaries are 2-state, and the red ones are in 3-state primaries. You grab the states in it, put them in order in the polls are open section. So for example, I don't know, let's say I did the Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. I would grab Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. And they will now correspond with the A, B, and C slots in each player's little card holding area. Okay. So what happens from there? Well, starting with the player supposedly clockwise, but because I'm screwed up, I do everything counterclockwise when I play solitaire. From the dealer, each player is allowed to play as many cards as they like from their hand, and this is what I screwed up that had to be replaced, into the slots that are up. Now, if only 2 states were in play, you'd only play in 2 slots. You can play cards that are good for you, and you can only play 1 money card per state under your own state. You can play cards that are not so good for someone against someone else in a state that you want to face. Remember, only 1 money card per state, so I can only play, I can't put another one into there. And I can put one here, and I can play another rumor on another player I don't like. And then I'm done. We go around the board clockwise, supposedly, until everybody, including the dealer, has played their cards. Then we reveal the cards, one state at a time, basically. And whoever gets the most total cash in votes in that state wins the little token for the state. There's some complexities beyond this. For example, there's zero cards, which are sort of wild cards, but they're not too interesting. There's endorsements, which work like money cards, except you're kind of unlimited on them. But then there's problems. Problems, for example, this one cancels all endorsements of all candidates during this round. Well, you could be counting on your endorsements. Other ones can prevent the election entirely and drop the state into the undecided voter pool, undecided states pool. If there may be a need to recampaign, in which case the players recampaign in the states that are still open. But if there's a tie in a state, only the players who are in the running in that tie can recampaign in it. If it's a problem or something like that, everybody who's involved can do it. Okay? So let's go on to the rest of the mechanism here. Let's say you don't think your chances are good on a state, on a primary. Well, you could pass, not through the primary, and use money cards to lay groundwork. You're allowed to lay groundwork in one primary that hasn't gone yet. And you can put as many money cards as you like in, and they're recorded on here with counters and your own little thing. And then when that state comes up, you have an advantage. What's that advantage? Well, if you're the person with the most money in there, and you have to have at least one, you get to take a card from the hand of everyone else in that primary, I think. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. But you can take one from everyone else, except the person who has the second most money. It has to be above zero. In groundwork. Okay. Pretty exciting so far. So, that gives you a potential for an advantage when you go into a primary. There's another potential for an advantage. If you won the most electoral votes in the immediately preceding primary, you get this little bandwagon marker. And that gives you an extra card at the beginning of the turn. If you win 2 or more straight primaries in a row, having the most votes in each one, you get the bandwagon 2 marker. That gives you 2 extra cards each turn. That's a powerful advantage. Of course, you have to compete in every primary. You can't start laying groundwork or you lose the bandwagon, which is a bit of a risk. Okay, so after all the states go, you count, and if somebody has 270 electoral votes or whatever, they win. If not, you go to the undecided voter pool. And I'm playing with an option that allows the current dealer to choose as many states as they like out of that pool. Normally you just send the whole boat out there. And you run an election round on that, a campaign round. There's no more groundwork or anything like that. Everybody's in this and they just have to do it. I mean, they don't have to actually play in it, but they might as well. The reason that it's kind of cool to let somebody, let the dealer choose which states instead of just sending the whole boat. If the dealer has a crappy hand, he can put up, Alaska, if it's in there, or whatever, something that's not worth a lot. On the other hand, if the dealer is another reason that they might want to reduce the risk, if the dealer is already close enough to winning that, say, half of the undecided pool would work, well, he puts up that half. If he wins it, he wins. If he doesn't, maybe he has another chance to win on the next set of states. All right. What else? So there's another option I haven't mentioned. It involves those zero cards. So when you declare a primary, if any other player is holding 2 0 cards at the time, and that's kind of hard to do. You're probably not going to just get handed them, so you might have to hold a 0 card, and that's a penalty to get a good chance at this. But if you're holding 2 0 cards, you can throw them down on the table and say, Super Tuesday. And that dealer loses his dealership, basically. You get to pick 2 primaries that are adjacent. Now, you can't do this if there aren't 2 primaries that are adjacent. What do I mean by adjacent? Well, so for example, there's a Nevada, Utah, Arizona primary and the California primary. They share a border. They're adjacent. Simple enough. If the conditions aren't right, though, you can't do this anymore. So as the game goes later and later, Super Tuesday becomes less and less possible. Alright, well, there's 6 players. Let's say we dealt out all the states. It's really unlikely somebody's going to have 270 electoral votes. Now what? Okay, well, you take the person with the least votes and you execute them. Well, you take all their states and drop them in the undecided voter pool and treat them just as though they had started there at the beginning of the convention. And that's it. You just keep eliminating players until finally somebody has 270 after the undecided voter pool is trimmed out. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up and send it up to you, and hopefully I got the rules right this time. And then I'm going to start playing again. I started last time and had gotten most of the rules right by the time I started playing, but was playing cards one at a time, which would be an interesting variant to the game. Each player plays 1 card as you go around the table. It's going to make it a little longer. It allows you to see what people are doing more. It might be an enjoyable option. I don't think that's how we played when we played it. I think we played by the correct rules there. What we got screwed up was what their primaries were. We were picking them from all over the place. Alright, up it goes.